just press live. So I'm pretty sure we're live now.
Cool.
Or should be. I haven't
Well,
got my
happy Friday.
notification on my phone. Oh, there we go. And now we're live.
That's why I put the phone under the mic so everybody knows. That's when the show started.
Yeah, it's we're live.
All right. So what is it that you have planned for us this evening, Miss
Wait a
Raven?
minute. I haven't done my intro.
Oh, well, that's what I'm saying. What do you got planned? Do your intro. There we go.
Hold on. I'm trying to get the chat going. I have a lot of stuff going on right now. Hold on.
You're all late. I'm already. I'm well into my episode already.
I know. Hold on. 1 second. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Raven Wolf channel. Yep, another Friday night with DJ Ransom. So
cool.
it's been a while, huh?
Yeah. You guys been hanging out on the Milky channel. I saw. I visited you guys there.
Yeah. No, I went and Liz went too. We've been, yeah.
Awesome.
But so yeah, happy Friday, you guys. I hope you guys are having a good one. I saw some of you guys on Milky Way weekly show. It was an awesome show. You have to watch it. Sandra, I can't say her last name, but she's amazing. Just watching her for, I think it was an hour or something, I feel like I learned so much. So cool. Yeah, she's awesome. You have to check her out. All right, so let me say hi to the chat.
All right, hi chat. I stuffed my.
Hi Mary.
Sure. So excuse me.
What?
I stuffed my sage over here, and it won't burn for some.
Okay. Hi Mary. Hi Ronnie. Hi C Golden. Oh, what thank you. Yeah. Change it. Hi Deborah. Hi Muse. Nice seeing you. Hi Edwin. Hi Hunter. Nice seeing you guys again. We were over there in the other chat. You were missing out.
Oh, yeah.
Hi Pamela. So okay, so
you cricket. All right, I'm cool. I straightened my beard out now. I feel straight now. There.
You got it? Okay. What was I gonna say? Oh, okay, Muse is leaving. Bye, Muse.
Later, Muse.
Hi, Rob M. All right, so tonight we are going to do the 420 news, like every Friday when we have a show.
Cool.
And then I want to talk about the Mayans. Recently, as you probably already know, Pamela sent me a tarot deck, among other things, that it was a Mayan deck. I don't have the, oh yeah. It's a Sultun tarot. It's Mayan.
Badass.
And like, it's really, really badass. I discovered that the major arcana of the, oh, okay, sorry, before I get into that. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Mayan stuff and, huh?
What was that word you said? Arcana?
Which one? Major arcana?
What is that?
Is that not, am I saying it wrong?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't even know what it is. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, well, you made me think that I'm saying it wrong. Because I say a lot of words wrong, so.
Oh, I'll tell you you're talking funny. Don't worry. I'm kind of rude like that.
No, well, okay, cool. So, we're gonna, we're gonna be talking about the Mayan stuff, but okay, back to the tarot. So I discovered that these cards, the major arcana, they fit like puzzle pieces, and it's like a story. I want to show you guys. But okay, major arcana for you and people that don't know are the like the Fool, the Magician, the Tower, the Devil, all of those. Those are major arcanas. The other ones are minor arcanas, like the whatever. I'm not gonna go explain about that.
I don't know if it's the sage, but it feels like shit's getting deep here. I better pay attention.
So yeah, check you guys. Oh wait, is it? Oh my gosh, hold on, I have to fix them right.
All right.
Okay, so this goes
There's a
with
patient audience. Don't worry.
Okay, so that there.
The Hanging Man, Death.
The Hanging Man, the Dead, and the Temperance Man.
Oh, I don't know that one. Hey, it's got the winged disc up there. That is badass. You see that, the cross on the last one?
Oh yeah, yeah. Ah.
Yeah, yep. I was just talking about that the other day, that shows up in everybody's culture there.
Wow. And then this one, I think there's one missing back. Well, I couldn't get it all together. Yeah, so this is the devil card is this, and then the tower.
Wow, that looks gruesome.
Yeah, it goes
like yeah, I see it. So it goes together.
Yeah.
That is cool.
And then I think, I don't know, I really, this is like,
if you put them all together, do we get a treasure map? Can we go find this stuff?
So this is the Fool and the Magician.
I like the Fool because he's like, and he number 0, like the first card.
Yep. It's number 0. And also the numbers are in Mayan numbers. You see, that's the one. Yeah. So yeah, pretty cool stuff.
What number's the other one? Was that?
I forgot which one did I show you.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Is that how do you tell the cards? Is that like a 30 something?
No, that's okay. So the moon one. Hold on. Okay, so this one, that's 18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to divide the bars and figure out what they mean there. So 3, 6, no, not 3 6s.
I think, okay, so let me see.
Oh, 5, 5, and 3. Okay, so each bar is 5.
5, yes.
5, 10,
yes.
15, and 3 more is 18. Okay,
yes.
Cool. Now I can read Mayan numbers.
Yeah. So anyways, I thought I should share that with you guys because that's pretty cool.
It is.
So let me see what's on the chat.
Like I was saying, is there a treasure map at the end of this thing? If you put it all together, could we like go to Mayan territory and like find something?
That'll be cool. Hi, Seven Serpent. Hi, Third Eye Jedi. Hi, Jill. Hi, 420 Dogs. I like your name.
420.
Hi, Alex. I don't know if I said hi to you or not. Yeah, they're pretty cool cards. I love them. So thank you so much, Pamela. And I messaged her earlier telling her that she triggered something within me because I'm now like super into the Mayan stuff lately. Like I've been thinking a lot about it. Like I feel like I'm going back to my roots. I think I'm going back to my roots. Oh my gosh.
Where are you from again?
Mexico.
Just Mexico?
Mexico City.
Oh, you mean down there by like all of the Mayan and Aztec and stuff?
Yes. Yes.
That's funny because that's part of what I'm going to get into. What's Mayan, what's Aztec, and...
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Because I actually... All right, so I'm sure you guys are familiar with the... how do you call it? The feather head serpent or the plum serpent.
Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl. That's how we say it.
All right.
So, but no, like earlier I was looking and I also like, it actually made me question it because I called my mom and I asked her about what she knew. Like, you know, I wanted to get some input from her. And she was like, oh, well, we had a god named Quetzalcoatl. And he was a feather. And I was like, no, his name was Kukulkan,
yeah.
And she's like, no. So I was confused. So that made me go online and research if there were 2 different ones or if it was the same. So apparently it's the same, right?
Yep.
It's just the Mayans, they call them Kukulkan, and the Aztecs call them Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl, yeah, whatever. I wonder how they.
It's Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, better than I can say it. I wonder how they sounded when they said it.
Oh, I don't know.
You know, like it was like, "Hey, Bob." They're like, "No, this says Quetzalcoatl." No, that's Bob
so
in our language.
What do you know about Quetzalcoatl?
Well, he's the feathered serpent. He came down and he taught them how to do stuff. In my belief, I think Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan, or if you get down further, Veriscocha, I think, down in the Incan areas around Pumapunku, I think it's all the same guy. In my opinion, it's Inky. I think it's Inky because there's a bunch of stories about how Inky went to land farthest west, and there
the eagle, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Well, kind of.
Oh.
It's about Cain and Abel. Yeah, I heard that.
Oh.
Is that the train?
Yeah. Yeah, the train.
So, like, there's a story in the Sumerian text about Cain and Abel. All right. So Cain kills Abel. They're both grandsons of Enki, I believe, anyway. But anyway, Enki wasn't there when he came back. Abel's body was laying in the dirt and flies and animals were getting to it, and he got upset and he told the human beings to bury him so that the bugs and the animals don't get to him. So that's the first time in human writing that they talk about burying a human in a grave. And that was Abel. In a way and also it's like not the first murder, but it's the first murder mentioned from one part human to another, because neither one of them were human all the way. Like Cain even had a wife that was full-blood Anunnaki because they wanted to make the line stronger. So his grandparents are Anunnaki people, but he is part human, some of Enki's offspring. But anyway, back to the point. Cain builds giant stone buildings, and Enki told everyone there that no one's to lay a hand on Cain, to not worry about it. And then later in the story, he goes to visit the city where Cain lives, and Cain's mentioned as having the mark of Cain, which means no facial hair. They talk about it. So his descendants had no facial hair. And what do you find in Central and South America? People with no beards.
In fact, that's funny that you mentioned that, because, you know, living in Mexico and being from there, that's a known thing that you can see who's Indian, who has Indian in them, because they don't have facial hair. The facial hair came from the Spaniards.
Yeah, the Spaniards. Yes. Yeah, right. So, and it's weird because if you look at like the gods, when they depict them in South America and in the Aztec and Mayan, they have a guy with a beard, right? So he's not one of them. But in the story of Enki, he goes to visit the city where they talk about building these giant stone buildings. And you know, there's pyramids and all that, and all the way down into Pumapunku, giant stone buildings, megalithic. So he goes there, and while he's visiting, a giant block falls off and kills Cain. So he died the way he killed. I don't know. You got to think into that. It kind of sounds like one of those like 20s gangsta stories where they just show up to watch the guy get murdered. But you got to think this had to have been weird for Enki, because he was also one of Enki's grandchildren, but he murdered the other one. So he died from a rock the same way that Abel died. A big stone hit him and killed him. But anyway, they go into how Enki takes care of Cain's people in this land. So that's why I think that all of these really old megalithic things from central Mexico all the way down into like Peru and Bolivia are like actually seen. Huh?
Mesoamerica?
Yeah. Well, even further, like down into
Peru and.
Yeah. Well, down there by the elongated head people. You know, the Paracas people.
Yeah. Hi, Anya. Hi, Judith. I saw somebody else.
But yes, we'll get into the eagle and the serpent later.
Yeah, because I want to ask you about that. But anyways, the reason why I brought that up about the featherhead serpent is just so long. Like to say it like that. It's because I mentioned it the other day that I think I must have been between 10 and 12. I can't remember exactly. But I went to Chichen Itza, where the what is it called? Whatever, the pyramid of the feather head serpent god is there. And they built it to honor him because like you were saying, he was the god that brought wisdom and knowledge to the humans and helped them.
Yeah.
And but anyways, on every year on the spring equinox, if you go there, there's the pyramid. And here I have actually I pulled out a video so I can show you guys. Here, I'm gonna screen share. But anyways, I'm gonna explain it and then I'm gonna show you guys. I'm sure, I don't know if you guys heard about this or not, but in the pyramid, and also the Chichen Itza pyramid, it's not as aligned as the other pyramids, like the pyramids in Egypt. It's a little off from the north, south, whatever. It's a little off, and the reason is because in the spring equinox, as the sun moves, it looks like a snake. The shadow of the pyramid is like a snake coming down the pyramid, and on the bottom of the pyramid is the face of the featherhead snake. Featherhead snake. Yeah, I said it right. Yeah, it was amazing. It was pretty cool, Anya. Here.
That's funny. So.
What?
No, you're right on par because I'm going to be talking about some more of this.
Oh. Hold on, I forgot to screen share the audio.
Might not want to get copyrighted there.
Okay, can you guys see everything? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So that's the pyramid. And I remember going there and it was a lot of walking. It was a lot of walking in the jungle to go from one place to another in the whole place.
Yeah. It's awesome. There's the cross. You see it?
Oh, I was gonna say, yes. So, okay, people, tourists and people, they go there and, they'll observe this event. But actually, and a thing that all like Mexicans know is to wear a white outfit, because when that's happening, you can absorb all the energy. It's very powerful.
Yeah, I remember hearing that before, but I think it's bizarre because white actually reflects all light.
This is not the video I was. Oh, shoot, sorry.
That makes you think maybe they didn't know about light yet. Because, we know that white actually reflects all, it's a reflection of all colors of light. So when you're wearing white, you're actually not absorbing anything. If you were wearing all black, you absorb all the light spectrum. That's why you get hot.
Exactly.
With a black shirt.
Exactly. Here, this is it. Okay. Oh, and also I was there too. This is where they play that game.
Soccer. Basketball and football all together in one sport. And that's right. No, if you lose, you die.
Yeah, it was called Ulama.
Yeah.
It was an ancient, it was the sport that had different versions, but anyways, in the different indigenous population. But yeah, it was Ulama, and it was like a racquetball game where the aim is to keep the ball in play. The stone ball court goal are a late addition to the game. And the ball was made of solid rubber and weighed as much as 4 kilos or 9 pounds.
That's right. And that's where we got, you think about it, these are all those sports. Think about way back when everybody gathered together to see a bunch of dudes play with a rubber ball, right? And nothing's changed. We still do that. We still do that.
It was a deadly game, I think.
Well, yeah, that's the one thing we took out is instead of bread and circus like gladiator sports or the Mayans, we don't actually kill the losers.
Yes. So,
I bet more people watch though.
So, okay, here's the pyramid, right? You guys see here on the bottom, that's the featherhead serpent. And this, as the shadow, is gonna start like moving us here. I'll just push play.
Just push play.
But it's slow, so.
It's all right. It lags through to us anyway, but we get a bunch of still pictures.
But see, there's a lot of, I wanna go for that event so bad. Wouldn't it be cool if we can all meet there? Do you guys see it? It's
Get your passports ready. No, I'm just joking.
And you see the people wearing white?
Yeah.
So there it is.
What's that pink lady trying to absorb? She's got all that pink on.
And I think, here, I'm going to post it. I'm not sure about this info. I think that when the sun completely goes the other way, it looks like it's going back up to the heavens.
That's right. He ascends back to the sky.
Yes.
But it's on the other side of the pyramid, the other angle. But yeah, that's why they twisted it just a little bit so you could get this cool effect.
It's a little off. Yes. So can you just imagine back then, like when everybody was living there and like people standing here and just, I don't know, I just feel like it was amazing.
You know what's really cool about that too is up there in that room that you just pointed out, for the longest time, they just thought it was just a wall in there. And then some of the rock fell off and then they found art behind where the Aztecs had covered over some stuff.
Oh, wow.
Stuff. So they're finding so many new things. There was actually a way bigger societies over here in the Americas than mainstream wants you to believe. But now they're, for some reason, starting to crack like disclosure that things weren't the way they were. Or the way they said they were originally. Yeah,
I was gonna say something, I forgot. Oh yeah, well, also when I've been looking into Mayan stuff, I realized, and I think you mentioned it to me before. Yes, you did. That the Mayans hieroglyphs, they were destroyed, right? You said that, and that somebody had to translate it. But anyways, I think the point what I'm trying to make is that even in 2018, they can't figure out all the language, or not the language, but all the scriptures and not scriptures, hieroglyphics and all of that. They still can't, the Mayan astrology and all that is very hard to decipher.
Yeah.
It's been taking, yes. And you mentioned to me that the Catholics, when they came, they destroyed a lot. Yeah, they destroyed a lot of
it was stuff. So bad that the Mayans actually had to scramble to try to copy things off of the stones, and they made codexes. And then whenever the church found out that a lot of the shamans and leaders had these backup copies, they burned them. And one of them survived, and we call that the Dresden Codex. And that's like in some not pyramid, I don't know why I said that, museum. I think it's either in Germany or England. I can't remember which, but it's like the main source where we know about the Mayan calendar and all that stuff.
Yeah. I think it's so messed up.
They weren't the only
important. Can you imagine, not only from the Mayan aspect, but in general, how many important knowledge that was written, it's gone.
That's right. And this is a good spot to talk about the eagle and the serpent and the reason why they destroyed shit, in my opinion. So all throughout history, since the Sumerian times, you had Enlil, who was the Lord of the Sky, and he was always represented in his line with an eagle. And then you had Enki, that was into science, genetics, things like that. And he's represented along with Lilith, his partner, right? That did stuff. And they are represented with owls and snakes. And some depictions even show the serpents wrapping around Lilith. So there's always been a battle between Enlil and Enki, the eagle and the snake. And then when you take in consideration that's the first stories, and then you look through the other cultures like The Romans went around and they conquered the barbarians and they conquered the pagans and all the way up
very
into
bloody history.
So but when they went, they always carried a golden eagle with them because they were an eagle culture. And the people that lived up in like England and around there, they were Druid. No, not them. They didn't come for thousands of years later, but I'll get to that. So the Druids and all them were a serpent culture, and they were into mysticism, nature, and herbs and different sciences. The Romans came and got rid of all that. But later, who did the Romans turn into? The Catholic Church, the Vatican.
Oh, yeah.
That's who the Romans became. So even though the Vatican didn't keep the logo of the eagle, they are the eagle power. And then all of these countries that popped up in Europe all uses eagles with the fasci and stuff. But then when you think about that, they go down to the Mayan culture, which is the feather, they got serpent, they're a serpent culture. They destroy it. And the same thing, like you said, with the Nazis were an eagle culture and they're about conquest. So every country that has the eagle is a war country.
United States of America.
Yes, we're a big eagle. And we weren't going to be, we were going to be a turkey, a sign of plenty and bounty, and or a snake. The don't tread on me snake, like the Gadsden flag is a snake saying back off. Well, what kills the snake is the eagle.
Eagle.
Yeah, so it's a certain.
Okay, you know what? Right now, for some reason, I know that, but right now I just connected the dots from what you're saying. So the Mayans were first, right, before the Aztecs.
Yep.
And what this is a known fact as growing up is that the Aztecs found their land because they were told to look for the sign of an eagle devouring a snake. That's where it was going to be their land. And that's why the Mexican flag has that, the eagle eating the snake.
And I've actually said that on your show before about that.
You did?
Yeah, about the Mexican flag and stuff. But that is trippy because the Mayan disappear when the Aztecs show up for the most part. They take over the area, the Yucatan Peninsula. So there's another instance, and I'll show you later, that the Aztec not only had the sign, but the pre-Aztec people, the Mississippian culture, they theorize, or the mound builders of North America, were bird people. And they went south, and then, the serpent. But let's bring that all the way to today. What's going on in the world today? We have the eagle countries, the Western world, the United States and Europe, and we have a main enemy in the world that they propagandize us, that's the enemy, which is China. And China, as you know, is all about the dragon, the serpent.
Yes, and actually they're because when they celebrate their serpent, it looks like the featherhead snake from the Mayans.
That's right. That's because the origin of their culture was a guy that came down in a dragon, and he's descended from dragons. In other words, he has the serpent DNA, but not really the serpent DNA. He has Inky's DNA, because Inky was the serpent. All right, so then you can go further than that. You remember back when I was showing the pictures of the different incarnations of the women, Diana, Lilith, all of them, and I pointed out that they always step on a serpent.
Yes.
They're stepping on what's man. Man is the serpent, because we're Inky, we're from his creation, not Enlil. Enlil was the destroyer. And they go through whole epics about Inky, and then there's another weird thing too, is that I've got further in the research in the last couple of days. I figured out that every time supposedly Nibiru or the Anunnaki come back, cultures pop up with the cross symbol. Like in Babylonia, they did it. The Egyptians did it. But they did it right around the same time that the nation of Israel became a thing. And you have the whole story about how the Israelites fled Egypt, which, by the way, always put a snake up here. And they were into the snake and the bird culture both. It was like a battle. They had a lot of battles over the period. Yes.
Yes.
Like, so what's weird about that is that Abraham, the father of Islam, Judaism, Christianity, came from the city of Ur, which was in Sumeria. He's a Sumerian, right? So I believe that he was a descendant of Enlil. That's why Enlil told him to go to the land and take it back, because Enki's people had control of it, the Egyptians, the Babylonians, or Mesopotamians, whatever you want to call them. So those are Enki's people. And then they had some kind of weird war or whatever. But in today's culture, Enlil's people, the people of the eagle, rule the world.
Wow.
So it is kind of trippy that things are going that way. So you can almost point out who's are Enki's descendants, or at least Enki's powers, and who's Enlil's. And if you think about the medical sciences, what is the emblem for medicine?
The snake.
Yep, it's a coiled snakes, like a double helix, which means genes, and it's wrapped around. But yeah, that just goes on and on.
The
so
Kundalini energy, yeah. Somebody was asking about Thoth. If Thoth, whatever was he was bird? He had bird or something.
He had a bird head, right? And who is he? He's one of Enki's grandchildren.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Hi, Pisces. Sorry for the ones I haven't said hi. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Because if you think about in Egypt, they have the only time they really show the serpent is on the little thing. And I think that's a way to show that their people beat, like that they were the serpent people. But there was intermarriages going on between the descendants of Enki and Enlil. So there was a constant struggle who was going to be in charge, the bird culture. And you think about, like, right now, like I said, we're going to eventually go head to head with China in one way or another, either with real war, economic war, whatever, but it's still the same thing. It's the eagle and the serpent.
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. I'm making a lot of connections just talking to you. That's awesome. Even though you, like you said, you mentioned this before.
Well, it's been steadily, like, it just becomes more obvious after a while when you start seeing symbols and logos that they're talking about things from way back to the first people, the first writing, and their legends or realities. I don't know which.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oop, no more sage. That's tobacco. Ugh.
Dragons equates to the serpents. Actually, that's funny that you said that, Seven Serpents, because when I was looking at some research of Ku Klux Klan or Quetzalcoatl, to me, he looked like a dragon with feathers, but, so yeah.
No, that's why I was talking about the chick from China too, and that she's stepping on the dragon, and that they're the dragon people. The Japanese are dragon people. But there's a new sign that you should look for. And if you didn't know this, that countries' flags tell you a lot. They tell you who runs them.
Yes.
So you have on one side, you have the British, red, white, and blue. The Americans, red, white, and blue. Australia, red, white, and blue. You have Japan that has become red, white, and blue. You have South Korea that's red, white, and blue. And if you look at North Korea, they have just a little bit of blue in their flag. So now they're talking about reunification. So they are going to join the group against China. That's what's been going on in the news too, the reunification of Korea.
Wow.
They're going to join join the bird culture.
Somebody was saying that China was going to win.
They may. I don't know how this will turn out. I do know that if you look back through history, it's gone back and forth. Sometimes the serpents win, sometimes the eagles win, but no matter what, they end up destroying each other. Yeah. I think what it is personally is that Enki, the reason in the Bible that the serpent, the whole little children's story of Genesis, where it tells you that the serpent baited the woman and then she made Adam eat the apple, and the apple came from the tree of knowledge and truth, of life and death. So Enki's been trying to give us information, technology. The other group doesn't want us to have it. And if you think about the story of Babel, Enlil, well, not the Bible's version, but the original version, Enlil's mad. He comes back, they come back to Earth. We have cities, we're building shims, we're about to go to space. And he says, we're going to separate these people back into different languages and destroy their culture. They got rid of it. So we're at that point again. We're sending stuff into space. We have a one world language, which is like zeros and
the history does repeat itself.
Yes, well, like the Library of Alexandria, right before the Christian Empire. They burned it all. They got rid of all of that stuff. So now we're at that same point again where English you would think is the world language, but it's not really. We do have one world language right now, and people don't know that, but it's binary. It's 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. It's the same language in every country. It's mathematical. So now we're at the point where we all speak the same language again. So it's time for the big reset.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
We're getting too big for our britches, according to our one of the people. If you really want to get into some trippy stuff, you should read the book of Enki and just concentrate on the part before they even get to Earth, when they only talk about their planet.
Yeah, I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about that at all. So I need to get more familiar with that.
That's what, the more you look into Sumerian stuff, the more you'll realize you know all of it already. It's been given to you in different stories and different, you even think about like Hercules or what's his name? You know how they would go fight the Hydra and the Kraken, and it's a bunch of images of people killing the serpent.
Wow. You mean, what's his name?
Oh, even Medusa.
Yes, the snake. Oh, wow, yeah. Hi, Michael Warner. I was gonna say something.
Would do it. It's your show, man. No.
I don't know. Oh, about C. Golden, he was saying that Jesus crushed the head of the serpent. So Jesus is on the eagle side.
Actually, I disagree with that. You know why and I'll tell you why, Z. The reason I disagree with that is I actually think Jesus was a representation of Enlil's people. Enki, excuse me. And the reason I say that is because they already had an established Hebrew, society there that was under the rule of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire is the eagle. So Jesus was bucking the system against the thing. And I've talked about this a lot.
The Romans.
Yes,
right?
He bucked the system against not only the Hebrew, but the Romans too. The Romans killed Jesus. The eagle people killed Jesus. And the reason I think Jesus is an Enki character, I'm not even sure if it was a real man, but the idea anyway, is that a human being, and they mentioned certain days, you remember 12 is a big year for Jesus, where everybody was impressed that he was beyond his years and wisdom and stuff. So 12, that's a really sacred number to the Sumerians. And then when he becomes 33 years old, the flesh that's enlightened, he's a man that's enlightened. They kill his ass. And what follows that point in time is a bunch of back and forth between Muslims and Christian wars and the Dark Ages and a whole big span of time up until now where human beings were not enlightened. And now we're reaching the enlightenment point again. It's time to kill the enlightened man in the flesh.
Wow.
You're 33 too. You better look out.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy.
Anyway, let's get into the other stuff because we'll circle back around to the.
Okay. I was gonna mention also. I tried to look at here in this deck, the Mayan ones, but the high priestess has that crescent moon, and she's stepping on the snake.
She got two towers.
The towers, yep.
And if you don't know why I always go nuts about the towers, I'll tell you the truth. Actually, I was watching an episode of
the high priestess.
Jenny and Heidi, and I don't remember. Maybe they were on Jeff's channel. I'm not sure, but they kept showing the cards like you do. They were showing the cards, and I noticed that the high priestess was doing that, and that she had the two towers behind her on that other deck. And not only that, the number is 2 Roman numerals number 1, that makes 2 towers 2. And she's and then that immediately made my connection in my mind to 9/11, because Columbia, the latest incarnation of this female deity throughout time, it was right there front row center to watch the towers fall.
Yeah.
And I believe that marked the new line. So you've had that, and that's the thing that everybody forgets. This isn't a power struggle between 2 factions. It's a power struggle between 3 factions. There's the woman, and she's a lot of times she's the owl, or she's like Hecate or Diana or Hathor or Columbia, and I think the new incarnation is Sophia. That's the one they're going to push on us.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about it.
Yeah, and I don't think they know why, though. And, you would think these people from long ago would be dead, but if you ever read their stuff, they live for 10, 20,000 years at a time, maybe even longer on the King's List. They live in for thousands of years. And not only that, I think what confuses most people, why all these different gods have different names, but there's really not that many of them, because they're not gods in the first place. But the reason there's so many of them is because in Anunnaki culture, your name changes for everything that you, like if you acquire something, or you get a new job, or anything that you do in your life, they give you a new name. So,
oh, really?
Enki was Ea when he first came, but when he became the Lord of the land and the water, he became Enki, right? So I think that's why, like, over time, the same characters get different names, and people think that they're different, and then they wonder why there's so many similarities.
Gosh. You know what? That clicked on my head. I think I mentioned it to you. When I was researching Raziel, the archangel that I work for. No, that's wrong.
You work for an angel? Yeah,
that came out wrong. Raziel became Metatron.
Or the other way around?
No. Raziel became Metatron.
Okay. I think it's the other way around, because Metatron is the scribe of God. He wrote things.
Okay, then yeah. Metatron turned into Raziel.
So that makes me wonder, like, if...
But it's the same one.
That's right.
But he had an achievement.
That's right.
And then he became something else. Wow.
That's right.
But no, I was going to ask you something about, it was related to that. Because also when I was doing research, like, I actually got overwhelmed by all these deities, how do you say deities, that the Mayans had.
Yeah.
And not only the Mayans, but also, it was the same, the Aztecs. So there was the god of fertility, and the god for this, the god of the crops, but there were also, bad ones. One that it was like, it would torture, like, I guess it lived in one of the layers of the underworld, and he will drown you over and over until your soul dies or something. That was awful. I actually
think, like, in my opinion, what happened is there's these technological beings, and humans attribute everything to magic because they don't get it. So then not only is there magic, but there's propaganda. Okay, so when you look through all the Sumerian texts, some of them are obviously pro-Enlil, and some of them are pro-Enki. So whoever's telling the story makes the other guy seem like the bad guy. So, like, if the latest version is Enlil's people, they put the serpent in the Garden of Eden to be the bad guy, and, the whole thing. But if Enki's telling the story, it's Enlil that's the bad guy.
It's the same story over and over, because nowadays, who writes the history? The people, so it's distorted. It's, oh my God, that's crazy. But
because if you read the book of Enki, Enlil's the little prick, and he's the guy that doesn't like humans. And matter of fact, Enlil is the guy that likes the smell of burnt flesh. Okay, and then a lot of people associate him with Jehovah or Yahweh or whatever you want in the Hebrew Bible, which would be Enlil. And if you notice, he loved the smell of flesh. Right. Wow. And he also, like, when they sacrificed stuff, they would burn it, make sure the smell went up in the air of meat, because Enlil thought we were animals. And Enki viewed us as something more because he put their mark in us.
Wow. That's crazy. That's really messed up. It's just a lot of information that is like making sense to me right now. I want to say hi to We Grow Community, Pisces, Mrs. Seven Serpents was here earlier and I didn't say hi. Exposed News Network is here. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you before. Cool. Think Year, thanks for stopping by. And I think that's it. But there was a question up here. There's different ones for different ages, like ages of the age of Aquarius, etc. I wonder when last Aquarius age was and who it was.
Right, because in my opinion, we're coming into the age of Aquarius, which is why I think the female version is it's her turn to rule. That's why the 9/11 thing happened. They gave birth to the New World Order right there, and they put if you look at the statue, the One World Trade Center that's there now, and then Google. The World Trade Center? Yeah, well, it's One World Trade Center. That's what they call it. That's the name of it now. One World Trade Center.
Oh my God.
Okay, so they killed all those people in the Twin Towers. They came down. And I always wonder if the Twin Towers are the other two male figures, Enki and Enlil. Well, anyway, they came down. They gave birth to the One World government on 9/11, which is, and you think about it too, it's 9/11, right? So on the 9th day of the 11th month there, so there's the towers, and 9 is the female. They gave birth in the 3rd millennium.
Oh my gosh.
They gave birth. But what I mean is don't believe me, Google Hathor's, what do you call those things? I forget where it's, what do you call obelisk? Hathor's obelisk, and look at that obelisk and tell me if that's not One World Trade Center.
Wow. I didn't know what an obelisk was. But this is an obelisk, right?
Yes, but hers is a little bit different. It has a diamond shape on one side of it.
Oh.
And it has writing, and I know that that's the same as that building they just built.
Alex Folks asks, I thought Enoch became Metatron. I don't know.
I thought Enoch met Metatron when he was whisked away into the sky. I don't know. I'm just getting into the book of Enoch, by the way. So I don't want to comment on that yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no clue. I have no comment.
I've been trying to refresh myself on all these old things, like you know.
We are in the Dwarpara Juga. I don't know. I don't know how to say that. The mental age.
Enlightenment. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what I just showed. It's an fluorite obelisk. Thank you, Pamela.
Actually, I have pictures of that stuff. I'll try to show you guys later, but I need to make a folder that just has stuff I'm talking about in it.
Yay. Thanks for the video. Yes, please like it. No thumbs down. Like. There's always one.
But I've been slowly telling the story I'm talking about in pictures in my videos. And recently I just pretty much went right there. If you watch the new intros I have with the eagle and the serpent and the owl and the eating of the serpent eating itself and the cyclical. You ever seen the serpent eat itself? Like it eats its tail. It's like a never ending loop of birth and destruction.
Yes. And now that you mentioned that, I remember something back to the Mayans that Quetzalcoatl was one of the gods that helped create the universe and the cosmos and all of that. So
I think what happened was that at one point humans started writing their own stories about these guys, and when they started writing it, they got fantastic. Like they added magical powers, and they added, oh, he could turn 50 feet tall and stuff like that. And it's just, I don't believe none of that, only because the way the first writings are, they're not talking about themselves in this way. It's the human writers that later give them all these special powers.
Yes. Yeah.
But if they had technology to aid them in stuff like telepathy or, you know, like telekinetic stuff, I don't know that they weren't to that point in technology. Maybe they did run around and look like they had magic and, you know, just wave their hand over here or whatever like that and make things happen. Because I think humans are closely getting to that point too.
Yeah. You know who's actually, I think that's what led me to Rex's channel 2 years ago, when I was getting into, you know, when you start researching one thing leads you to another. And I forgot his name, Matthew Lacroix, Matthew Lacroix.
I forgot his name, but there's a guy that does a great, I disagree with him.
Does he have glasses?
I don't know. Well, the one I watched, it didn't actually show him, but I'm sure that I haven't watched. I'm actually catching up on Rex's old shows too, because he had a really good guest back like in the day. He was hammering them out. But he had a guy on there that was talking about the exact same thing that I'm tripping on, the eagle and the serpent.
Yes,
and he was
I think that's him. That's Matthew Lacroix or Lacroix. Yeah, Lacroix, Lacroix, Lacroix.
And I thought he was onto something, and then I've been finding more and more and more and more of it. It's just everywhere.
Yeah. That's from where I first heard about the eagle and the serpent. And then I think he's been a guest on Rex, or I think they did some kind of collab or something, because that's how I landed with Rex. And then I started finding out about the Anunnaki and all of this, and then we're here making.
I actually would love to get that guy on to talk about it. That's why I love YouTube.
He has books.
I love the YouTube for that reason. I can talk to you guys, like you or the audience, or like Rex or anybody about this stuff. But if I just went out in the public, or hung out with friends, or I met new people and I started talking about this shit, they look at you like you're a fucking nutball right away. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That sounds nutty.
Yeah. And Seven Serpent says, just like a fish story, it keeps growing over time. And Pamela says, Cosmic History Chronicles.
Right.
Yeah.
I do believe that there's a bit, I think everything does track back to that original thing that happened in Mesopotamia, where humans just popped up out of nowhere, started building pyramids, ziggurats, they started farming, they started having domesticated animals, mathematics, plumbing, all that shit just happened. And then they're supposed to tell me that some cavemen just all of a sudden went, boom, we can build stuff.
Yeah. Deborah Tucker says, that's why we need each other, to be learning from each other. You know, like, honestly, I've been learning so much from people like you and other people in the, YouTube community. There's a lot of information out there.
Yeah, none of us have the whole story.
Yeah.
No matter what.
And, I was also thinking, like you were saying, how the Aztecs has their gods, and then like the Egyptian has their gods, and like the Vikings had their gods, or whatever. The Norse, or how do you call them? People from...
Yeah. Oh, and that's another good point. Actually, you just brought me. You remember when we were just talking about the cross? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
I figured out why the cross is such a big deal. It's the cardinal directions, for one, north, east, south, and west. But there's a story about Zeus. Zeus used to leave Mount Olympus, and he would fly far to the north. And there's ley lines that go from around where Mount Olympus should be in Greece, and it goes all the way to where the Vikings live, almost in a straight line. And when you go along that line, there's circles with crosses in it. But you can only really go star from the sky. So if you listen to Zecharia Sitchin, he talks about how they built the pyramids on purpose so that when they flew their ships in, they had 2 reference points of Mount Ararat.
Oh, wow, I see.
In the middle was the big giant platform where they landed from either side. The flight corridor was Baalbek, Lebanon, and that's where you find that giant rocks that the Romans, the Greeks, everybody tried to build stuff on top of it. But something happened in the Great Flood where it got messed up, and then they built another one in Jerusalem and changed the corridor. But originally, the pyramids were just like, so when you look down on a map today, whether it's your GPS or a real map, you'll see that little thing in the corner that has the northeast, south, and west, and it's a circle with a cross in it, right? So we still use that to this day to find directions. And I think what that was all about is when they flew down on Earth, because they had no reference from space, they would see those things and know where they're going. But what I was getting to is what's at the end of those crosses? So it seems like somebody got in their chariot and flew over to the north area, and they followed those lines. And when they got there, there's 2 brothers, 2 main brothers. There's Thor, and there's who? Loki. Sounds a lot like Inky, and he's the trickster, and he knows magic, and he does all this stuff. So he's the scientist guy. And Thor, what is he?
Wow.
But I mean, he's supposed to be like Zeus, which is, I think, Enlil. And if you remember, Zeus sometimes came down as an eagle to impregnate women. That's how Hercules and all.
I don't remember that because I don't know that.
Well, I don't know, I get their names wrong, so excuse me if I do, especially with the Roman and Greek stuff. It might not have been Hercules. What's the guy in the movie from the Clash of the Titans? Anyway, the eagle came down, and it was actually
Trident? No.
I don't remember, but anyway, the eagle came down. I thought that was ironic because that would be Thor. In Norse mythology. Yeah. And what's even more funny is, Zeus threw lightning bolts, and Thor is god of thunder. So it's the same guys. It's the same fucking people. They just different humans call them different names.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot where I was going to go with the point I was going to make about how they all have their different gods.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Well, they're kind of like the same people, and you always find, like you said, a fertility god and this, and they all have jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where. Yeah. Seven Serpents said, solar cross sun dash sun on the cross.
Yep. And what happened? And here's another thing. I'm sorry if you're a Christian, if you get mad at me, but Christmas is all about the stars. And it's the story of when the sun, it goes across the southern crux in the southern sky, and it stops. That's winter on the 22nd of December. And it doesn't go any higher for 3 days. It stays at the same plane over this constellation, the Southern Crux, from the Northern Hemisphere. So what happens every Christmas is the sun dies on the cross and is resurrected in 3 days on the 25th. And from that day forward, the days get longer and the sun comes back. And eventually you have Easter or Passover. And what happens then? The sun literally passes over to the point in the sky. All that whole book, the Bible, sorry if you get mad about it, but it's a bunch of collections of different things just slapped together in a book and then given to the public, like, here, believe this and don't question it, the same way we get like official stories now. And like the Bible, if you're against government censorship and you're a libertarian and all that, don't tell me about the Bible. That's the biggest government censorship book on the planet. There was the council in Rome that changed it. And then, you have King James people changed it. And then they start separating into the Lutherans and the Pentecostals and all these people. And they all start adding a little bit.
King James also.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big one for me because, as a former Catholic, born and raised Catholic, and former Christian, we're taught that the word of God is the Bible, like literally that everything that you need to know is straight from God's mouth.
Well, in my opinion, the Bible is pretty important to people because there's a lot of wisdom in it. One, it's proof and a link to the old ancient world, kind of like Plato's books are. But most importantly is it's like an introduction to the truth. Not the truth itself, but it gets you thinking. Like when I was a little kid, just like other people like Zachariah and Sitchin, and they told me there's only one God. But then when God creates man, he says, let us create man in our image. And like earlier, Jeff was talking about that on his channel, how, you know, that the gods made some more people and they became gods. And I kind of disagree, because I think what it is we're not gods, but we are to the point, just like the Anunnaki, where we have technology and we're starting to create life or AI. We may even make AI alive, but we're at that point again where we're starting to believe we're gods and getting cocky and arrogant, you know, thinking like just like the Anunnaki did. I think after a couple thousand years here with a bunch of humans kissing their butt, they actually believed it, maybe, that they were gods. They had no rivals.
Wow.
But obviously they didn't make everything. Yeah, the Elohim, the Anunnaki.
Yeah. Yeah, and no wonder, you know, I was also thinking that, you know, when the Spaniards came, you know, and destroyed the Mayans and other civilizations, you know, the main
government
reason,
censorship.
Well, yeah, no, I'm saying they were Catholics. They were Catholics and they believe in one God, and they come to Mexico, to the Mayan place, and they're like worshiping all this, you know, gods and the God from that.
Honestly, I think the Vatican knew exactly what it was. The church knew exactly what it was. And that's why they wanted to get rid of it, destroy it, call it devil stuff. And they knew that, and not only that, you know, in North America, we'll get to this in a minute with the mound builders, but you know that there were pyramids in North America. There were pyramids, there were sacred geometry sites that had complex mathematics. And the first thing that Europeans did when they got here is they had a real reason to make people from Europe feel like the natives were savages, because if they knew that they had connections to the old world, to the Hebrew world, to the whatever in ancient times, then all of a sudden people in Europe, they would think about them more like equal humans. And then if they found out they built buildings and they had complex mathematics, so the church did it first, and then it became the Smithsonian that did it later, where they destroy everything that doesn't go along with their official story, or they hide it, or say you're crazy or you're a liar.
They also did the same with in Mexico City with the Aztecs. They built churches on top of their pyramids.
And that's right. And that's what everybody does. And you think about the Greeks and the Romans with their new set of gods. What did they do? But they went to the old Anunnaki sites and built their temples on top of them. And the same thing like in Jerusalem. First there was the Anunnaki site, then later came the Hebrew, and they built the King Solomon's temple on it. And then when that fell and later the Muslims took over it, now we have the Dome on the Rock. So now there's a Muslim church on top of it. And each one of these groups is telling you, you're not allowed to know about the stuff before, and you can't believe it. It's all lies. Just like some Christians the really hardcore ones that think it's a literal translation will tell you, oh, dinosaur bones are, you know, like the devil just put that there to confuse you. Instead of that God's a lot more complex. Oh, wow. What? Are you going to share?
No. I'm confused right now by something.
What happened?
A comment. Judith said, you little shit, you know I'm right. You listen and follow instructions. XO.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
That she's talking about like you do what we say, and that's what we said, so that's how it is because we said it. Or that's what it sounds like she's saying, like government censorship. Don't think, listen. Don't find out yourself. Believe what we tell you.
Don't think for yourself. Regurgitate what we're telling you.
Regurgitate. I'm gonna use that one. Regurgitate. Don't be regurgitating stuff to me.
Hey, stop it. I'm saying it wrong.
I told you I'm rude. I'll tell you. No, it's regurgitate. For a minute
you were like, I was freaking out because I thought she was okay, good. For a minute my heart
you thought you had a troll? I don't think so.
No, and that's why I was confused, because I like Judith, and I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Okay, good. I'm glad
you're talking about what we're talking about. Follow along, Anna. Anyway, so
what do you have to offer, or not to offer, but to show on the part?
Whoa.
Not sound right.
Oh, you want me to do the news first, and then we'll get some Mayan card reading going on?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, come on. I wanted one. It's the theme of the night. Like, so I want to see, do I get the full, because I always get the same type cards, no matter who does it or what. That's why I've become really fond of the Magician and the Fool. I get them a lot.
And you know what? It's actually funny because the Magician and the Fool card on my Mayan deck, they're the ones that go together.
I think they're the two most enlightened people in the deck, not the kings, not the priestess, and they're the high priest. They're the authorities. The Magician and the Fool are libertarian, free-willed things doing their own thing.
Yeah. But why you don't go ahead and do the 420 news?
All right, let me hook that up right now, matter of fact.
Hi, Little T. Hi, Jason Graham.
All right, let's see here. All right, so it's a sad day in the world. Farewell to number 16.
Oh my God.
Miserable after world's oldest spider dies at the age of 43. This spider was 3 years older than I am right now.
Just looking at it is giving me some.
Oh, come on. These guys are not
feelings.
They're not that bad. I guess it's the big fangs that freak everybody out, but
good night, Hunter. Thank you.
And if you were a real Mayan, you may have been eating something quite like this quite often. Actually, a lot of the Amazon jungle people still to this day eat tarantulas. Like it's like a Mickey D's. They put it down on the fire, flip it a couple times, and then they start eating it like beef jerky or whatever.
Eaten some crickets in Mexico.
Oh wow!
They fry them and they put some like spicy stuff on it. They're actually good.
I've had chocolate covered ants and grasshopper or crickets, whatever.
Yeah, grasshopper. Yeah. Okay, continue.
All right. Well, affectionately known as number 16, the female, however you say that, Gaius, I guess, Villosus. And you notice we still use all this old world shit to classify everything. It's almost like they named everything in a way that somebody could come back that hadn't been here for a long time and know what everything is and be caught up to speed real fast because we still use these old language. Anyway, there's not much into it. You can learn more about the spider if you really want to know about it at the science at the Telegraph right here. I just thought, that's sad. What a sad day. The oldest spider in the world that we know of died. All right, so.
Wow.
Sounds like a lot of fun was going on in the UK here. Police chased down a naked outdoor sex couple through the streets of the UK in Salisbury. So they were getting their groove on right in the public, and then the police showed up to spoil the fun. A British couple found themselves being chased naked down streets when they were caught indulging in a sport of springtime al fresco. What's that, cautious? I don't know. I think that means they were bumping uglies in public. I'm not the smartest guy. That is a pasta dish. I don't get it. I'm going to leave that there. In perhaps the most English of responses, police put out a plea out for people to be in the cathedral city of Salisbury to stop all the nonsense and just behave. All right? Don't be having sex in public and be having fun. That's weird.
Yeah, and Little T said, but it's okay to kill babies.
Yes, that's right. And I actually want to have a show about, because I kind of talked to you in private about going there.
Yeah.
And we'll get there in a minute. So all of this stuff's related. You might not believe it, but it is all related. Everything that you think of in society is related to back then. And I'll tell you why I think that. But anyway, so, they were bumping uglies in public here, but, you can't make babies, but you can definitely kill them. All right. And for all you people that think that white people are just the evil assholes, blue-eyed devils, and whatever else they say, and that, we're all guilty of slavery, or even though we had nothing to do with it, our generation, and like less than 1% of the people during our nation's history were rich enough to have slaves. So all the other white people were just poor, regular white people that were living not much better than the slaves themselves, except for they weren't considered property. But in Muslim culture, in Islam, it's okay to have slaves. It's in the Quran. You can have slaves. So, and I want to point out that I don't know for a fact that these people are Muslim. I just think that they are, judging by the article, because they don't say what they are or why they did it. But anyway, so the Star Telegram, Muhammad Torre, 57, and his wife, Denise Torre, 57. Ooh, that's weird. They're both the same age, 57, 57. Both of South Lake face federal charges for forced labor after federal agents say they required a young West African girl, a young black girl from Africa that was sold to them, to work in their home for more than 16 years. So these two people had a slave at their house. Literally, they bought a child and they made her a slave. And this is today. And I guess you could say they're white people if you want to. All right, so South Lake couple forced young African girl. So basically they sold it. They had kids there that were the same age, but yet you imagine being this kid that lives around other kids in the same house, but only one kid. It's like if you had 3 kids and you only made one of them do chores. You only make one do chores. They have to do all the chores, and they're the only one that gets punished, and you treat the other 2 really, really good. So that's what this little girl was going through in their house.
Sounds like Cinderella
story. And I don't want to get into this because it's pretty messed up, but I thought, you should notice that, yes, slavery is alive and well today, but it's not the people that everybody's getting mad at, which is just regular American people and whatever. Actually, there's a shitload of slavery going on in Southeast Asia and in Africa and in Saudi Arabia. One of America's best allies openly sells black people on the black market actually, it's not a black market. It's actually right out in the open. They have like little auctions where they sell people still to this day. So if you're mad about slavery and you think it's unfair, march your ass over to the Saudi Arabian embassy and see how fast you also become a slave in jail, because America won't let you talk about that.
Yeah.
That's real slavers.
Seven Serpent says there is black slavery in Libya right now.
That's true, in Libya too. And by the way, speaking of that, Serpents, you remember back in the day when Gaddafi was in charge, he ended all that nonsense. He wouldn't let the, I don't know what the right word for it, the Caucasian Muslims, I'll put it that way, because yes, most Middle Eastern people are Caucasian. So like the Wahhabists and all them were allowed to do stuff to black Africans, but Gaddafi ended all that. He made all his people equal in this country, and he started opening up aqueducts so that everybody could have water. He let girls go to school without the hoods on their head. So he was becoming a first world free country, even though he was a dictator, and even though the United States put him in there via the CIA a long time ago. But anyway, he got too big for his britches, but the main thing that he did was try to start a gold standard backed money. And once he did that, the central bank said he had to go. So we bombed
every country that does that wants to step away from that, then they seem to get attacked.
That's right. That's right. Enlil's people, the Saudi Arabians and the Hebrew, are in direct opposition with the other group of Muslims, which are the people that live in Iran, Syria, southern Turkey. In other words, the descendants of the people that used to be Babylonians. So that's Inky's people that they're fighting with there. Wow. Okay, but anyway, I'm not going to get into this. So you guys can look at this at the Star Telegram. How even in first world countries, there's plenty of human slavery going on, and that's not what everybody's mad or bitching about. So if you really are mad about that kind of stuff, look into today's slavery, the real slavery.
And I want to say something about slavery, but I believe it's a form of slavery. In Mexico, like the rich people can have servants, and they pretty much live in their house, work every day from the minute they wake up till the minute they have at night, and they pay them super little money, and if they're lucky, they might get one day off, like on Sundays, but then they have to come back to work from Monday to Saturday.
Well, everybody knows that's not slavery, because the Irish did the same thing here in the United States, but they called them indentured servants. Yes, they were pretty much treated as slaves. Yes. That's the same thing.
Yes.
And that's not the only thing happening in Mexico, by the way. They have giant corn farms that are owned by Monsanto.
GMOs.
And they're worked by mostly indigenous Indian type people. And when they want to leave, they can't. The Mexican government literally holds people to work for these big corporations at gunpoint, meaning they can't leave or change their mind. So yes, I forgot about. There's a lot of countries we don't think about that stuff like that's going on. And let me reload this because this is the wrong video here. All right, here we go. And the reason I brought this up is because this is in my back door. This is at White Sands National Monument, and I didn't even know about it, and I know a lot of stuff. So each year, about 500,000 people visit New Mexico's White Sands National Monument, which is 10 miles that way, next to my house. And there's, there's few animals around here. That's true, bigger than a coyote or a bobcat down here in the valley in the desert. But an epic called the Pleistocene, which started about 2.5 million years ago and ended about 12,000 years ago. By the way, about the same time that we all think the Great Flood happened, and the Sumerians write about that too, so you can go look at that. But all these megafauna species that lived in the United States, they just died off, like all at once. And I just found this out. So there's these guys over here. This is at White Sands. There's a part of it that's like petrified white sand. So it's like rock kind of now. And they're finding the biggest collection in the world of Pleistocene era animals and footprints. And right here are human footprints following a giant sloth. They were hunting it. They were going to kill it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And this is 12,000 years ago in the valley I live in. And matter of fact, here shortly, I think next week or whatever, I'm going to go over and take a bunch of pictures and some video of 10,000-year-old petroglyphs. So we know people were living here a long time ago. So, but anyway, so the alkali flats nearby in the lakes attached, whatever, the mammoths and mastodons walked around here, and so did saber-toothed cats and stuff like that. But over here, they have all of these footprints at White Sands, New Mexico. And I'm going to look into this and see if I can't go out there.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Because I think they have it closed off, because I don't think you can get it. I've never even heard of it.
I wouldn't, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, they're finding all of these collections of these old, here, we'll go ahead and play the video without the sound. So that's a giant, like a Wolverine style, big claw that this giant animal had that walked around on the earth.
I wonder.
I don't think it was slow because the people were, it may have been slow, but I don't think it was, see, right, I live right over there. All right, so they're out there and they're finding all this stuff out there, and it's badass. And I'm sure that people walked over a lot of this stuff and didn't even know it was there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So look at the size of that claw, though. That's a claw.
Damn.
That's trippy, huh? Or actually, I think that one's a footprint. But what's weird about it is you see how there's like an indentation? That means that there was white sand there 12,000 years ago before it got all hard. So there were people visiting White Sands Monument 12,000 years ago.
That's crazy. That's cool. That's very cool.
Or at least they were hunting in it. I bet you that was pretty gruesome when you killed an animal on a white landscape like this. Look at this landscape. So when you killed an animal on this, I bet it was like red. Hey, look, what is that? Poop? I don't know. We're not going to get copyright, but I think that was 12,000-year-old poop, if I think. Yeah. But anyway, if you'd like to check that out and read the article, that's at the Washington Post there. And keep in mind that that's right outside of where I live. Yeah, look at those giant claws at the end of that, though.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that thing probably was not a cool animal. Cool animal to get in a fight with.
Seven Serpent said he wasn't a good hunter if he couldn't catch the sloth. And then Little T said, there is petroglyphs parked less than 5 minutes away from me. Road trip ransom. But no, I was trying to actually read another comment that she said. Okay, same happened in Africa, and that's why Hitler was controlled over the gold. So I've heard at ransom.
Well, yeah, Hitler was going. We'll get into that on another story. I think there's a thing going on that happened in the past, and it's all about these guys coming back in the gold. There's a big thing. the countries have always been fighting over who's the people that gets to hold the most gold. And I don't, and they're not using it. They're not using it for technology, and they're not using it for money, which makes me think that it's a payment.
Wow.
It's not a payment. Like, there are people that still want the gold.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's cool. And another thing that's cool about that, the old stuff, though, I'll say one more thing, is that there's a 9,000-year-old woman that they found out in the sand.
And she's Caucasian.
Oh.
So the two oldest bodies in America now found are Caucasian. There's one off of Oregon that they found, and the Native American tribe there has claimed the remains as part of their culture. But the guy's he's Caucasian, or at least he was shaped, their skull, because really Caucasian just means people that descended from people that came out of the Caucasus Mountains and they have a big nose ridge. That's basically all that means. Okay, so here, pig brains are kept outside alive, their bodies, for the first time in a radical experiment that could allow humans to become immortal. That's right. We're in the time where humans are so arrogant that they think they're gods, and now that they're going to live forever through technology and being, this is more of that transhumanism stuff. And if you really believe that there's an afterlife and an enlightenment after death, why would you, if that's a true thing, that there's another plane we go to after we die that's better than this one, or maybe not better, but more complicated, and you learn more stuff, why would you want to live forever in this realm? That's like pretty much, if that's true, and death is part of evolution and part of the life cycle, you're ending your evolution here. But anyway, if you're on the other hand, like me, I do want to live a long time. So if they could guarantee me to do that, I would love to continue to think and stuff, because I don't think immortal is the right word, because I think no matter what, biological material will die eventually. They may make it live a long time, but they're saying that this brain that they got lived up to 36 hours after decapitation.
Holy
And
cow.
Even though they're acting like this is a new thing, it's not. There was a guy a long time ago that chopped off a monkey's head, and he transplanted it on another monkey, and the monkey lived. But another experiment they don't talk about so much is that they took one of the monkey's brain all the way out of their head, and they kept it in a tank, and it lived for several days. And you imagine how terrifying it would be to just be a brain full of pain, because they cut off all of the nerve endings, and so every little out of the brain is thinking pain. Plus, they can't see, hear, or feel anything other than pain. So I don't think that this is the route to go. I don't think your brain's going to be happy in a jar, in my opinion. But if you want to, there's hope for you to live forever. Yeah, and I think you guys knew this to be the truth, because I'm sure you're all on Facebook. But even though we all know that all Facebook is a CIA program to map out your life, know who your friends are, know what you buy, know where you go, know everything about you, and you volunteer the information. That's the great part for the government, is they don't have to dig for it. You volunteer it and you give it to it. But then on top of that, they caught Facebook stealing information from you even when you're offline and you're not even on Facebook. So they're using your phone to track where you go when you eat, where you shop for clothes, who your boyfriend is. They know if you're cheating. They know if you're sending dirty pictures back and forth to each other through the messenger. They know all of that stuff. So despite that, people still use Facebook. And despite the whole campaign, delete Facebook right here, the US users are logging in as much as ever. So that doesn't faze us. We don't care that we're spied on. We don't even give a shit for the most part. So look at this.
Wow.
More activity than before. So look, so Facebook is just going up and up despite all the rumors of them having problems. So people love to be spied on.
Yeah.
And
we do it voluntarily, like you said.
Yeah. And I don't even have to tell you guys about this one, I don't think. I bet everybody in the room pretty much knows that the story they're telling us about climate change, that humans, it's our fault, is bullshit. And it's not even that bad according to scientists now. Excuse me, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say a comment from Pisces. he said that the government is experimenting now with dogs and probably humans with our DNA to create the superhumans. And when I read that comment, to me, it went back to my, to what you were saying about the, like how the Anunnaki mixed up and tried to mess with the DNA to whatever.
Yeah. And they weren't the only ones. If you look at all the Egyptian artwork, they had a lot of chimeras. The Greeks were talking about chimeras. So in the old world, there seemed to have been created animals that were mixes of different animals. And if you read in any of the earliest tales of the Anunnaki, they talk about exactly that. Enki had a lab where he had all kinds of mixed up animals in it. So he was the original island of Dr. Monroe. With the part. Wow. And if you don't think they're already testing on humans, you're sadly mistaken. They've been cloning humans, testing on humans, making animal chimeras for a long time. Matter of fact, the Chinese made a half human, half rabbit thing, and supposedly they kill these things as a fetus. But if you really believe that, that's not, obviously they want us to find out what happened. So they're going to let these things grow, which means they're not technically humans, which means they don't have rights.
Oh my God.
Slaves, which means we're repeating exactly what the Anunnaki did. Oh, well, it's not going to be a slave. It'll just be a helper. It's part human, which means it thinks like a human and has other stuff. But yeah, so
yeah, go ahead.
I just pointed this out because all the information starting to come in that all of these climate dickheads that want a carbon tax, they don't use real science, and nothing's really been happening for 70 years, not that much. And if you read a farmer's almanac, you would know all the people that talk about, oh my God, there's so many storms now and they're getting so bad, the world must be ending. No, actually, there used to be all these superstorms for a long time.
Yeah.
And technically, if you go look at the farmer's almanac, there are less tornadoes and less hurricanes now than ever before. The thing that's happening now is that when we do get one, they're pretty powerful. You know what I mean? Like they're big. So, and I think they're modifying them that way. And a lot of other people too, that they weren't even going to be that bad of a storm. But it's weird how these storms seem to lead right into population centers. Like people are using weather weapons against each other, or dumbass humans built every single city in the world on a disaster zone, which is true too. All the big ones are on natural disaster zones. And Home Slice, I don't know if you guys know him, Terrence Williams. He's pretty funny. He was on the Alex Jones show. He goes around eating a fried chicken and points out things that like the lefties do that doesn't make sense. So he's like a comedian, a self-proclaimed comedian, and he's got a lot of fame. But Facebook decided they don't like him because he's pro-Trump and he's black. So just like Diamond and Silk, he got banned and booted from Facebook, which means I believe that Facebook is technically a racist organization. They don't like people with their own minds. I don't have a problem. And you notice how everybody went nuts when Kanye said a couple things?
And he said again a couple more things. You heard that?
Yeah. He broke the fucking internet with that shit. They can't stand it. But anyway, I thought that was, if you like this guy, which I do, you should probably check him out on YouTube and check him out on the Alex Jones or InfoWars. He's pretty funny. And he's on Twitter too, so you can check him out there too. His name's Terrence Williams. But anyway, he's being picked on for, he's not even a conservative. He's just not a liberal, and he's pro-Trump. So I thought that was funny.
Pisces
and
says
this is what we all want to know.
What you guys are talking about in the audience. Are they testing on humans?
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you going to say? Somebody said something else?
Well, just Pisces said that's a broad statement, Ransom.
Which one?
I don't know.
I make a lot of broad statements. I like broads.
I think, I don't know.
Well, anyway, this doesn't actually say people are testing on humans or nothing. What they're saying is a mysterious new form of DNA is now seen inside human cells for the first time, and it looks like a twisted knot instead of a double helix. So they've discovered even more DNA in the human being that doesn't seem to fit into our environment here. All right, discovery of the I-motif form of DNA was made by researchers in Sydney. It is unclear the function but it could be for reading the DNA sequences itself. So although researchers have the thing there, it's being witnessed under artificial conditions in the laboratory. So we don't even really know what it is. Like, what is this? Like, it's not the double thing. There's some added DNA on there of some kind. It looks a little alien whenever you look at every other animal.
Well, my question goes, like, I don't know. You know how vaccines have RNA from animals, like actually from Cocker spaniels, yes, like pigs and all kinds of things. So I wonder if that has anything to do with this twisted knot.
It might. And I would advise every one of you to go watch Lloyd Pye. He's dead now, but he was a great researcher. And he points out that all animals have open DNA strands, meaning that the chromosome goes all the way to a point we have certain sets of them. Well, if you know, all apes have 48 chromosomes total. Human beings only have 46. And the reason for that is the number 2 chromosome in the human has been snipped, and they put 2 chromosomes together. And the only place that we've ever seen that in the world is in lab animals. And human beings and cheetahs, as far as we know, are the only 2 animals on this planet that have a signature, which is a signature that someone played with our DNA a long time ago. And that may be why our mitochondrial DNA only goes back 70,000 years, although supposedly humans go back a lot further. But for some reason, our mitochondrial DNA goes back to 1.70,000 years ago. So, and that's the little DNAs in your cells that are only from your mother. So it's mother, 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 all the way back to the first mother, which evidently you would think would be millions and millions and millions of years ago, but nope, it only goes back 70,000 years. And so this is weird. If you guys want to trip on this, I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you what it is, but I do think it's trippy that we keep finding new things in our DNA. And then there's that whole thing called junk DNA where like 96% of our DNA, we don't even know what the hell it does. And they supposedly mapped the human genome a long time ago. So here's a big question. I'm sure all of you guys are dying to know. What does it smell like? What does Uranus smell like? What do you think Uranus smells like? Right here on astronomy.com.
This is funny.
Uranus smells exactly how you think it does.
Like ass.
Gosh.
All right, anyway. Scientists confirm that Uranus atmosphere, I'm sorry, not your anus, Uranus atmosphere contains hydrogen sulfide, a compound long suspected to be swirling around the planet's clouds. So you already know where we're going with this, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So using the Gemini North Telescope in Hawaii, researchers from the United Kingdom analyzed Uranus. Maybe it was Uranus. I don't know. Uranus using a technique known as a spectroscopic to identify the elements contained within, which what I was talking about before about absorbing all the light. You know, you can get a prism, and this is something you can do at home. You can shine light through a prism, like kind of like this lighter right here. You know how the light comes through it? But if you do it on a prism, the shadow on the wall will have a bunch of little black spots, lines inside the rainbow. And those are fingerprints to chemicals or elements that are in whatever it is that the light's passing through. All right, so that's how we detect how, like if a planet's Earth-like or whatever, or it's got organic compounds, we know it by the light refracted through it. And anyway, so they realized the near-infrared integral field spectrometer at the Gemini for the task, which involves breaking down the light to reflect from Uranus by wavelength to determine its composition. Basically what I just said without me stuttering. So they found a bunch of ammonia, like in pee-pee, and hydrogen sulfide that's, also present in like farts.
Somebody said like rotten eggs.
That's right, rotten eggs. It smells like ass. So we'll just skip and stop right there so we don't, linger on Uranus or get stuck on Uranus. We don't want to get too far into Uranus, right now. So we'll just skip that. And yes, Uranus smells exactly like you think it does.
Third Eye Jedi said, NASA's trolling us again.
You think so? They might be. I don't know. But you ever notice some gases do smell like shit? When you drive by something, it's like, oh, that's a paper plant. Oh, but it smells like rotten eggs and poop. All right, so let's get back to what we're talking about. What? All right, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this. So I don't know if you guys know about Vimanas or the Vedic books that talk about flying craft, the Vimanas, but they give a detailed description of the motor, and they talk about that they had these motors in there that spun mercury to make things happen because it has some cool electrical technological properties that you can use mercury. Even though it's deadly to humans, we can use it for technology.
I've heard that before, yes.
Yes, so, well, it seems like we were talking about earlier, that they're all linked. All these old cultures are totally linked because they had to, store the mercury somewhere, and they had to get it and refine it somewhere. So it seems like maybe in Teotihuacan, you say Teotihuacan. All right. Yeah. Teotihuacan reveals its treasures. When archaeologists found a tunnel under Mexico's birthplace of the gods, they could only dream of the riches that they were going to discover. Now it wonders from jewelry-eyed figures to necklaces to human teeth are being revealed to the world. But what's really cool is in 2003, a tunnel was discovered beneath the feathered serpent pyramid in the ruins of Teotihuacan. I don't know why I keep messing that. Teotihuacan. I don't know. I usually say that right, but for some reason. Teotihuacan. Okay. Yeah. The ancient city of Mexico, undisturbed for 1,800 years, which, by the way, that's a Smithsonian mainstream science number. And I believe these pyramids go way back, way before that. Especially down in Pumapunku, especially. Maybe not the Aztecs so much because they're a recent culture compared to the other ones. But some of the older Mayan ones and some of the not Incan, because even the Incans say they didn't. But they say that 1,800 years. We'll just go with that. Sealed off passage was found to contain thousands of extraordinary treasures lying exactly where they had first been placed in the ritual offerings of the gods.
Awesome to see.
Oh, yeah, I know, right?
Wait. So, read the items. Items containing crystals shaped into eyes and sculptures of jaguars and ready to pounce.
Yeah.
Wow.
They love them jaguars, which are a lot like cheetahs in Egypt, but whatever. We'll get past that.
Of course, my eyes went to the crystal-shaped eyes, but okay.
Right. Okay, so like you said, they unearthed all kinds of cool gemstones, crocodile teeth, crystals shaped into eyes, and sculptures of jaguars ready to pounce on somebody. But more even remarkable than that was a miniature mountain landscape 17 meters underground with tiny pools of liquid mercury, which is you have to refine it to get liquid mercury. Okay, so that means almost for a fact, there was technology at that place a long time ago. So that's my opinion. They say other stuff. The walls of the tunnel were found to have been carefully impregnated with powdered pyrite, fool's gold, the shiny shit. Yeah. And it made like stars and stuff. Oh, well, it's going to say that. I keep skipping forward because I already know this stuff a long time ago. But it's weird that stuff I learned as a long time ago, it finally gets around into the news things, but whatever. So the walls of the tunnel were found to have very carefully impregnated with powdered pyrite or fool's gold to give the effect of firelight of standing under the galaxy of the stars. So when you came in there, they had this, according to them, a non-technological thing going on. But imagine if you had a torch or a flashlight down there, the walls and the ceiling would shine like the galaxy. There's a little representation of a pyramid, and then there's lakes that are reflective because mercury. So it would look like a miniature map of the area, right?
That's very cool. That's awesome.
And then, they've had they give this weird number, which I don't agree with, but whatever. And then, so they're even talking here about It's a long place for mysteries and the most populous cities in the Americas nearly 2,000 years ago, but little is known about the language, rulers, or the circumstances of the collapse in around 550. Its name, which means birthplace of the gods, was given much later by the Aztecs. See?
So there was already a civilization. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And who treated the ruins, including the monumental pyramids of the sun, the moon, and the majestic avenue of the dead with due reverence. Meaning that all these people that say that the Aztecs built them, no, they didn't. They found them. They came there. There was a civilization already. It disappeared. But then supposedly nobody knows why. I think it's because the bird people came down and killed them.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion. Many questions remain unanswered. But anyway, so they sent these robots down in there, and I thought, there's your buddy right there.
Okay, so Rob M says, why do they know this, but not what came first, chicken or egg? Someone please help me out. I'm determined to get a legit answer.
In my opinion, you want my opinion? I think a long time ago, a single-celled organism landed on this planet, either by purpose or by accident or randomness. But when you think of single-celled organisms that they say we all evolved from later when it became complex, they don't have an egg. There's no chicken or egg. It's one thing that divides into two. So if you call one single cell an egg, which an ostrich egg or a chicken egg or any of that stuff is just one cell, right? So an egg is one cell. So there's your answer. The egg came first. The egg came first, and then later animals came out of the egg.
Wow.
Yeah, but here, look at these eyeballs down here, whatever they are. Yeah, so these guys are not Aztec. They're Mayan, maybe even Olmec, maybe. And who's to know that the Olmecs are before the Mayans? So who's to say that they're not, like the Mayans didn't show up and kill the Olmecs? I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
Nobody knows what happened. We just know that they were there. But anyway, I thought you guys would think that was cool about the little miniature map and world down here. And the Aztec came along and added their own spin on the culture, of course. So they started adding stuff on the outside and making their own things like this skull here, which is very cool. And it trips me out that the Aztec culture is more about death than the Mayan is. I don't know why. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying they really like the skull and the Day of the Dead and all that stuff. And if you look right here, I think things went in this. They never say that, but I think that they put gemstones right in here.
Crystals, yes.
Yeah, but not only that, they were just talking about stuff that looked like eyes, right? You see this pyramid?
Oh, the nose, yes.
Guess what would be right there?
The eye?
I bet it's
the
hidden
eye on the pyramid.
Well, I'm sure it was the nose, and they had some other stuff too. They always put secret symbology and everything. And you notice this workmanship isn't quite like the Mayan. It's less perfect. But it's still cool as shit, though.
I want to say something because I think it's a little bit funny. So
okay.
Dalton's mom said, Karma is finding out that your 10-year-old has been using your Facebook, and you realize that to yourself, well, you're using his YouTube channel. Just find out. Thought I should share. LOL.
That's funny. Hey, family share. There's nothing wrong with that. And getting into more of this mindset.
Hold on, before we move on. Jen says it looks like a keyhole.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Okay, I'm done. Go ahead.
And here we go. Just get further into this. Now with lasers and stuff, when the Spanish got there, they thought they were these little spots, right? That the Aztec and the Mayans left out. There were just these little couple pyramids. No. These are megalopolis cities buried in the jungle. And you know how long it took for the jungle to take over an area? maybe 100, 200 years, but it takes a while for that stuff to rot to get a good layer underneath it for more trees to grow. So it takes a lot more than a couple hundred years for just a forest to show up. So most of this stuff is all buried still under dirt. There were massive cities in the Americas, and now we're finding them, and now archaeologists are having to change their story just a little bit, but I think it's all just in time for disclosure.
Yeah.
Okay, so archaeologists have harnessed sophisticated technology to reveal lost cities, and I've covered this on my channel. So basically what we're talking about, without reading the whole article, everybody, is 60,000 structures in a new city that they found there. And these people were so into the sky. We all know that a lot of these were solar observatories or lunar or stars.
Yeah, they have the observatory also in Chichen Itza.
That's right. And it seems like, oh, and they keep giving this number, like not that long ago. Like, oh, well, they just were barely doing that. Now, you notice that the other article said 55 BC or 550 BC. This one's saying 900 AD. So they're trying to say that these Mayans started doing stuff way after even the other one. So we already know they were there thousands of years ago, not just a couple hundred years ago. They were already, these cities were already lost when the Spanish got there. I think that some of them were even lost, like when the Aztec or different Indian groups started coming in and living in the jungle there. That shit was already there.
Yeah.
And I think this is really cool. So you guys can check this out. I just wanted to show, I've actually covered this before, but it's not just these in Guatemala. They're finding them in southern Mexico. They're finding them in Belize. And I have a feeling that when they get down into Brazil and, you know, like Colombia and Venezuela and stuff like that, they're going to find similar stuff to this, the giant cities down there inside the jungle. Wouldn't it be
Jen Fisher says maybe they left with the aliens.
Or that they were the aliens.
That too.
Because when we get into this whole Sumerian culture, Mick, see, they want to do everything they can to tell you that Egypt, Sumeria, like places like Angkor Wat and the pyramids in China and the ones in the Czechoslovakia or the Republic of Czech now or whatever, I forgot. Can't believe I'm so old that countries have different names now. But so they're trying to make you think this shit's all unrelated. And they don't want to show you stuff like this. This is Proto-Sumerian. And over here on this side, or actually there's Proto-Sumerian and there's Sumerian. And here's these things, you've seen it in Sumeria. And they've already actually translated this. And this bowl was found in Bolivia.
Oh,
so
wow.
This is direct proof that the Sumerian culture or the Anunnaki had a direct link to people in South and Central America.
Yeah.
Right here. And they don't want to talk about this because on the outside of the bowl, you can see it's like Mayan, Incan type art, right?
Yeah.
But on the inside of the bowl, there's Proto-Sumerian and Sumerian cuneiform. Wow. All through this bowl, there's cuneiform. And they've actually already deciphered it. I forgot where that picture was. Like, here's one. And they even name names from ancient Sumeria. There's even names people are, right? So you guys should look it up. It's called, I actually forgot what it's called. It's like the hell the name. There it is, right there. The Magna Bowl. But
they just recently found that out, or when did they find this?
They found this a while back. This guy in Bolivia already had found it. The archaeologists are ignoring this. They want to ignore it. You know why they want to ignore it? Because they can't. It doesn't match. If they talk about it, that means their whole line of books,
doesn't add up.
It's all garbage. And the same thing in Egypt. Why the Egyptian government allows Egyptologists to just decide what Egyptian history is, because they want you to believe that they're the people that live there now instead of people that disappeared a long time ago. And if you've ever looked at some of the real pyramid art, I mean, not the pyramids, but the people that probably built the pyramids, they built a lot of depictions of themselves, and they always put these weird minerals in there to make sure that you knew they had blue eyes. And the same thing has happened in South America. They find in these little things with blue eyes. So
oh, wow.
There were people of different colors everywhere all over the world mixed up. It wasn't this black and white, there's Indians and there's black people and there's white people and they're all different. No, we were all over the place fucking and reproducing and mixing with other people's and sharing art and sharing technology because we all came from the same culture.
Wow.
In my opinion. I always have to add that at the end. In my opinion. All right. So, and I wanted to get back to this Mississippian culture. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this, or the bird up there. That's the bird culture from the Mississippi Valley or the Ohio Valley, both. And I wanted you guys to look at some of their artwork and tell me if this does not look Mayan. Or Aztec.
Yes.
Or either both.
Well, it's the same. Yes.
Yes. So there's one specifically I want you to see right here. This guy.
Yeah, that looks like that.
He's a bird man.
Yes.
Yeah, and if any of you guys watched the video I did with the cliff dwellings, they put on big turkey. I showed you they had a whole thing where they wore turkey feathers. So when they get all cooked up like this, they look like a bird man.
Actually, also when I was looking at the Mayan stuff and Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan, apparently there was also like rulers, I guess, I don't want to say kings or queens, but the rulers of the, two of them, they were named Kukul's, whatever. What was it? The serpent. They name them the name. Yes. So yeah, there's also stories about them, and some people confuse them with Quetzalcoatl, the god.
All right. And you guys probably wonder why I'm making the point of the bird culture. I want to solidify this idea that there's usually the serpent culture first. Okay, so this is the Mississippian culture's area. This is where the 5 civilized tribes come from: Cherokee, Choctaw, Seminole, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they all came from what we call the Algonquin culture, language, or whatever, which is right up here where we started the United States, right here at the edge of this, right here, all through this land. So these people already lived here. They lived all through here. These are the descendants, basically, of what we call the Mississippian culture or the bird people. And they build giant mounds, right? Big mounds, pyramids, stuff like that. But look at the size of the area, right? And then down here is like the central Mexico, like down, you got Mexico City down up over here or wherever it is right there.
A little bit, yes.
And then you get further, and then they got all that Yucatan Peninsula stuff. Both Mayan and Aztec buildings are all through here, but it all goes down into here too. But my point is there's also these guys. Snake Town, the Anasazi, I was just showing you guys at the cliff dwellings, right? So it appears that the corn people or the people from the Ohio Valley, and I want you guys to think about this too, the oldest mound that they know of is a serpent. It's a big giant serpent in Ohio. And it had a big obelisk at its head, and it's at the edge of a meteor strike. So there's a giant crater there with minerals that you would only need if you had technology. And they built this big serpent mound there. It looks like to mark where the mining could be done. So they put a little serpent thing. But then later, this bird culture shows up, and they call them the mound builders, and they change the direction of the mounds and from animals into pyramids. And then they go out here, and we find all of these cliff dwellings and stuff that seem to be just temporary, like the culture was moving, and then eventually it went down here. So they believe that these people were actually the Aztec. These people were probably the Mayans. They moved here first. People stayed. You know how people reproduce and they change their beliefs. Yeah. But we think that these were like the Aztecs that stopped here, the Anasazi, the ancient ones, and then they made their way down. But I wanted to show you that so that you can know all three of these are related. And there's a lot of rumors too that Atlantis was right here.
Yeah.
was right here when the water was level. And then they found all that stuff like Bimini Road, the pyramids under the sea over there.
Yeah.
And then you also got to think about in Teotihuacan or whatever, they have the little circle with another circle. And I wanted to point that out, that those mounds of that same shape are found all through here. And I heard Jenny Moonstone talking about Atlantis, which made me think of it again. But Edgar Casey said that this was Atlantis, basically.
Yeah.
And that you could prove it by looking at the mounds of the southern United States, of the mound builders. Okay, so we'll skip past that. But basically, I wanted to point out that this looks just like, and see, this guy has decapitated someone here.
Yeah.
Matter of fact.
Yeah.
And I believe that this guy was from another clan, a serpent clan or whatever.
Trina Alessandro says, I was so privileged to go to the Hopi Mesa. It was a life-changing. I saw a giant handling in a wall. It blew my mind.
Yeah, and what's really cool about all of this stuff is that I've realized I'm up in the middle of it. It's all around me, and I've been looking at Leak Project. He's tripping kind of on the same thing. He's going around and checking out like Chimney Rock and the old Pueblos and Navajo and Anasazi stuff. So that's really cool that we're all, like, a bunch of different people are on the same trip. But I wanted to show you this, guys. You recognize this?
That looks like a pyramid.
It looks just like the one in Mexico.
Yeah, and
but it's made out of dirt. And here's that serpent mound I was talking about.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But anyway, this is a pyramid, and it's in Ohio, I think. No, Illinois. This one's in Illinois. Monk's Mound.
That looks like the pyramids in Teotihuacan.
That's right. And what's also tripped is that if you see it from above, these are other ones. See, in the United States, just like we were talking about before, when we started colonizing West, they started building towns, and they would make this the center of town, and they would put a church up on a hill, and then the town would spread out from the mound. So we destroyed a lot of this shit.
Wow.
So this was a big pyramid. Look from the top. And yes, it is in the cardinal directions, just like the rest of them.
Yeah.
And here's the serpent mound from above right here.
You know where I heard this for the first time? There was a TV show. I forgot what his name. Unearthing America.
History?
I think it was.
Yeah,
History.
yeah.
Yes, and he touched on that. I didn't know that there was pyramids in the U.S.
Yeah, and they're all over the place. We destroyed them. There used to be big ones along the Mississippi. For whatever reason, they got destroyed. Look, and you see somebody's house up on top of this.
Yeah, the hill.
But they did the same thing in China. They build farms and forests over the pyramids that they have, and I wanted to bring that up. You remember when I was just talking about the underground thing that was a map and it had mercury? That's not the only place that one of those exists. Under one of the pyramids in China, the emperor had all of his soldiers made in like sand. He was buried with all of that, but in his chamber is a thing with like diamonds and different shit up on the ceiling where you can see the sky, and a pool of mercury in the bottom.
Oh, wow.
And they're Chinese. Wow. So like if I looked up Chinese pyramids or whatever, so yes. Believe it or not, they've been lying to you, but they're getting around finally. And look, they're giving you that same number, 950 right here, 950 CE, or the Common Era, or AD. Some people call it AD. So it's really BCE and CE. It's before the Common Era and the Common Era. But for the Christians changed it over to before Christ and after death, I think, what AD stands for. I don't know. But anyway, if you look up the Mississippian culture, I'm pretty sure, about positive, that these guys, and look, only a portion of it sticks down. So they even had stuff like Egypt, where there was tunnels and different stuff underneath it. So I thought you guys would find that's cool. And then loop around back to, that was my point. And that's so funny that you went there with the feathered serpent, because that was my last point, that these guys are all the same culture, serpent and bird cultures, over and over again. They build pyramids. Somebody comes and destroys them over and over.
Yeah.
So the bird culture, for some reason, or the eagle culture, I call it, does not want us to know what these paths to enlightenment are. And I say that because every pyramid has a path that goes to the point. That's right. And it goes up. But not only that, the pyramid itself, if you look at it from above, is a square. And in the old language, like even in Egypt, a square meant space. And a pyramid was like a representation of a city. And it points to Orion's belt, which means they're saying in space, there's a city up there.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All right, so whatever, I'm done. That's the 420 news for tonight from my point. All right, let's get into those Mayan readings.
No. I only have the major arcana with me. I don't have the other cards with me. So
Mayans are cool. That's what we're all up on right now.
No, this is so on a tarot deck. There's a major arcana and there's the minor arcana.
Oh, I see. So you have like half a deck.
Yes. Well, not even half a deck, but yes. I just only So I can pull a card for this, but it's only major. And I guess I'll just pull it in for. Do you want it for you?
I also wanted to show you this, guys, too. That remember the cross, the Zia, the swastika, all of that is the same symbol, and most cultures thought it was a good symbol. You know, I know the Nazis ruined the swastika, but even the Pueblo and the Hopi, you can Google it if you want. Google Native American sports teams and stuff like that from like the 20s, and they all wore a swastika because that's Native culture. The swastika, the sun, the Zia, the cross, the galaxy, whichever way you want to decide that that's what that means. Or what Zachariah Sitchin says, and it represents the planet of the crossing, actually, which would be Nibiru when it comes. I don't know, but it's all related, obviously.
I think there are 22 cards, C Golden, instead of 13. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, there are 22. But close.
Yeah. 2 times 11.
Wow. I was gonna say. I remember I wanted to say something earlier when you were talking about the Bible, and before that you said, you said that the Bible. What you said about it's
a great introduction to learning stuff.
No, but it also has like. Well, no, maybe you didn't say that. There's a lot of
wisdom.
No. Well, yeah, but no.
Zodiac symbols.
Hidden stuff. Yes, hidden stuff in
numerology, the zodiac, all of that.
And you said that the language that we all talk is the numbers, like math. Numbers, and
yes, and if we ever talk to aliens, they even tell us if we ever really do talk to aliens, it'll be through math first.
I forgot. You keep distracting
and make right, my. Well, you were talking about
I was going to talk about gematria. Gematria is the numbers.
Geometry?
No geometry. Okay, does somebody know gematria? Gematria. Gematria.
And what's that mean?
I don't know.
Hey man, I don't know everything. That's why we talking.
I don't know how to explain it, but gematria is those numbers and letters. So certain. Actually, I forgot his name. What is his name? That he does gematria videos about the Bible and about things that happen now. What's his name?
It basically
He's a YouTuber.
Means numbers and sacred geometry then?
I don't know.
No, I'm saying, is that what it's talking about?
I don't know. There are alchemical symbols. The esoteric meaning of numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers that correlate with numbers. Yes.
I mean, like
I can't with words. I have to remember the name of this YouTuber that he does awesome videos about it. And he actually connects the dots with esoteric stuff with the Las Vegas stuff that happened recently.
Yeah, but I did it first.
The numerology.
I swear to God,
anyways.
I'm the first one that did that. And then it was funny because all the really famous people were getting on the bandwagon weeks afterwards and stuff.
Oh, good. I'm glad you guys know what I'm talking about, little T. But yeah, pretty much in the Bible, within the Bible, if you do the numbers with the thing, they mean something. They say things.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's a lot of it's about astrology, too. You ever notice that Jesus broke apart 2 fish and fed everybody, and he's always represented for 2 fish? And we've talked about this before. It's Pisces. It was the era of Pisces. And then you got Moses the ram, and you got the Taurus. Moses was mad because they were worshiping the cow or the bull. Taurus the time before that.
Okay, good. So Trina heard about it also. Yeah. And also, I didn't know that until, when I started, anyways, recently about that there were pyramids in India.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I just, growing up, I only knew that there were pyramids in Mexico and in Egypt.
And they also have
and in South America too. Huh?
They also have these things called stupas that they put Buddha in, and it looks like a little UFO thing, and it's weird that Buddha sits in the middle of it, like he's the pilot, almost like that depiction of the Mayan guy that looks like he's flying a spaceship. He's inside like a stupa shape, and he's sitting there with his feet on the pedal and all that. And that whole thing that they said that's his ride into the underworld. I'm like,
oh
really?
Yeah, but that's in Mexico.
Yeah, and I'm like, really? A ride into the underworld? He's got pedals. It's the shit in his nose. He's touching stuff. No.
That's in Teotihuacan.
Yep.
Or maybe not.
Maybe
it's
not.
In the Chiapas one. It's where the Chiapas pyramids are.
Yeah, and that guy was supposed to be a giant, so he might have been, one of the other guys.
Wow. Alex says that they found big pyramid in Bosnia, Europe.
Yeah, I thought it was the Czech Republic, but yeah.
It is. Trina says, I love astrology. It's amazing in my opinion. Yeah, you know what? Digging all this Mayan stuff and with the Mayan deck, and I'm very attracted to start looking into some Mayan astrology. And I know it's not easy because I started researching it, and it's.
You ever wonder how much of the genes have got left over to our era? Like, like when we talk about past lives and different shit. So is it really weird for like somebody to have a past life image of like, Mayans or maybe a past life of India and think, well, that's weird because, I don't even come from there. But yeah, a long time ago, though, people were fucking and moving and doing all kinds of shit. So it's very possible that your genetic line does spiral off into some of these places. Like, especially you coming from Mexico City, I'm sure you have at least a percentage of like original Aztec or original Mayan DNA in your bloodline.
Yeah,
you probably know because there's like we can't even test that good on genes.
Yeah. Aurora Rain, you said you needed a show on that. So interesting. Are you talking about gematria or what? And Dank Knowledge says, hey, what's the best way to find your inner animal? I don't know.
I would just think about your behaviors.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like, I feel like a lone wolf a lot.
Yeah.
I smell stuff on the breeze. I like the moon. I'm half nocturnal, but not always. Like, I don't know.
She said about the ages.
Girls used to call me a dog. You're a dog. Well, whatever. Woof, woof. She's yelling at her animals, by the way. She muted it so that we couldn't hear the meanness going on over there.
Yeah, that's true. True story. True story there. No, but he has skin allergies and he keeps itching and licking and it just makes it worse. Yes. But anyways, I was gonna say goodbye, but I forgot to do this. Okay, hold on.
Fine. You don't have to pull me, no.
No, I am. I forgot. Oh, yes, little T. That's the second time you mentioned that. Women who run with wolves.
Women who run with wolves. And I just said I feel like a wolf. So, hey, I like this. What is this? It better not be a feminist group.
Oh,
that group now it's like, or what was it? It was like something to do with women's rights. It was called Now. And I kept thinking that I should start my own group called Then. It'd be like tough hombres earning extra nookie. Or they got the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers Are Mad. I've been waiting for like a commercial to come on TV that shows like just a poor old drunk on his porch, and then it says killed in 1996 by a mad mother. Drunks Against Mad Mothers. Damn. Whatever. My jokes ain't funny, but yeah. They could go protest alongside of Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, so they'd be damn mad.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna pull the card now. Sorry.
Goop. You know what?
Just wondering.
We forgot about all the blood sacrifices in the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Egyptians and the Hebrew and the Chinese. Yeah, everybody in their blood sacrifices.
Yep. You want to talk about it?
Yes, I do.
Let's do it.
I think I talked on here before about how Planned Parenthood is like a building that's in every poor neighborhood in America, basically, and probably Europe too. And the concept is that because a woman needs to live her life, that she should have control over her body, and if she doesn't want or doesn't need or was raped. And I get the raped and incest part of this, and I'm not talking about that, so don't attack me from that already. I'm talking about just, I'm pregnant, I don't want the baby. They've talked about for long enough that they've convinced people that this is a human right to go kill your offspring, instead of a human right being able to have your offspring on the planet, your DNA, your descendants. That's your human right. But the people that are anti-family seem to be really into like the spirit cooking crowd or the Crowleyite crowd, or they really like Crowley, or, the guy that wrote the Satanic Bible, or Madame Blavatsky or whatever, which were all a bunch of people that were anti-family. Yeah. And they believed in magic with a K, in which, if you read Magic and Practice, means that you have to get blood to do some of these spells. And to, like Aleister Crowley wanted to get people to do a certain ceremony where he cut a woman into 9 pieces, and on each piece you would carve in the name of a demon, and then the head, they would burn it to a specific powerful demon. So there's all this weird Crowleyite, and the NWA was really into this. So about Bohemian Grove, they go there and they have a little party and they pretend like they're or at least they tell the public they're pretending to kill a baby, and they call it the cremation of care. So they're into killing babies. You can go back to Ball, you can go to Enlil, that like the smell of flesh of babies on the fire, or the kids. You can say that means goat, whatever. But anyway, it's always been in the culture to sacrifice either grown-ups, but especially innocent children. And Aleister Crowley goes into why you need a young, intelligent, innocent person to kill in the sacrifice. So let's get past Crowley and all the devil worshippers and the Luciferians and all of that, and the people that want to do magic spells with hair and blood and semen and shit and all this stuff with these weird spirit milk. So basically, to me, you're just gross. And I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anybody, but if you drink piss or eat shit, that ain't normal. No animal on the planet eats shit except for maybe a dog, and we're not dogs. So, and at least there's nutrients and shit. But as far as I know, no animal drinks their own piss. And there's a reason for that, is because piss is the toxins in your body, and your body's getting rid of those toxins. It doesn't want them. It doesn't need them. So you shouldn't drink it. Side note. But anyway, let's back to Planned Parenthood. They have convinced people that taking your baby down to a facility and having a doctor take care of it is okay, and it's a human right. But what you don't get is that they have legally, in front of your face, made a building almost like the pyramid in the poor areas back then. You know, the rich, the elite didn't get sacrificed. They went and got some poor villager girl or boy or whatever, and they cut them open and they did it. So the same thing's true today. We got Planned Parenthood, the poor people, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whoever it is, and a bunch of liberal women that aren't poor do it on purpose because whatever reason. I'm not going to judge everybody.
They do it willingly.
Yes. So in essence, we're having in the public participate in mass child sacrifice right in front of everybody. But it goes a step further than that. They then sell these parts to makeup companies and food companies. And these companies make things like
and vaccine and pharma. Don't forget pharma.
Yes, and that's right. And vaccines. So we're not only injecting it right into us, like cannibalism and the blood sacrifice, but then we're also wearing it on our faces and we're eating it and we're drinking it and we're doing all this. So we're all participating in the sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Now, where I'm going with this is that, okay, so being in a military family, sometimes they do stuff like this, which is the 34th Expeditionary Bomb Squadron flew a sortie in my family's name. You can see right there on the Godwin family, right? So what they did is they flew this flag inside one of their airplanes, and they flew over a country on a combat sortie. It says right there, that means that they're killing people. And they're killing people in my family's name without asking me. So they made me participate in the blood sacrifice. And I'm sure that Captain Angie Bunny Carroll doesn't think that she's doing anything messed up. She thinks she's killing bad guys or terrorists or whatever. But the fact that we don't even know who they're dropping the bombs on half the time means that there is a degree of higher ranking people ordering airstrikes on stuff. So what we're doing also is having massive world blood sacrifice. And then they're attaching people's names to it. And then you wonder why terrorists want to come over to the United States and kill people. And then we're like, oh, that's horrible. We're not military. And they're thinking, well, you sent bombs to my country in your name and your country's name, and you're not doing nothing about it. And this is almost what they mean. In my family's name, they went and murdered some people, not once, but twice.
And it's so twisted because, well, I don't know. I'm not a military family or anything, but.
And I want everybody to know that, yes, I understand why it sounds hypocrisy, why I got an American flag up there. But my American idea is liberty, freedom, 1776, individual rights given to you by your creator. And I don't believe in all of this war and fucking conquering and all of that shit. So this is a different symbol for me than what it is for them. But when people are saying that the American flag represents rape, murder, and conquest, they aren't lying. It's just that I didn't do it. And the majority of Americans didn't do it. And we don't even believe in it. Matter of fact, most people think they're Christians and that they have this certain idea of morals. And I don't have nothing against Christians.
Right.
I believe in morals.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Is it like a big, like in the military, when you get that certificate or something, is it like an honor thing that, yes, wow, they did it for me? So like everything, again, they twist it.
That's right. That is totally right. So it's not like that these people that dropped the bomb, I'm not saying that they're evil. According to them, they were just doing their job in the military and they're a pilot and they do what they do. And I'm not saying that they're bad people. What I'm saying is that the entire civilization has been tricked into thinking that the good is bad and the bad is good. And that's why whenever I tell you about Hebrews and the Christians and the Muslims all being Enlils, people, religions, offshoots, all of those people from all three religions believe that they're moral people and that they're doing God's will. But I'm asking you, which God are you talking about? Because in my opinion, the all creator or what, him, she, they, whatever, doesn't need me to kill for them. They're all powerful. They don't need me to murder in their name. And I sure don't need other people murdering in my name.
That's true. That's very true.
It attaches you to it. Like if you believe in
magic, it's a contract.
Well, not only that, it's participating your essence into the magic. And what they mean by, go ahead and read Aleister Crowley's book, Practicing Magic, and then you will eliminate all these ideas of all these people and that think that he's some kind of cool pop culture and he knew a lot of esoteric knowledge and ancient knowledge. Well, that's great, but if Jeffrey Dahmer knows how to do great electrical work, I'm still not going to call him to come over to my house to wire my place. Jeffrey Dahmer may have been good at all kinds of stuff, and he could have probably really taught me some great stuff. He's still a fucking murderer, though.
That doesn't change the fact, right? Little T is wondering, how did your name end up there?
How did my name end up on the thing?
Yes, on the certificate.
What they do is they draw military families and they give them a flag. So they fly the flag in the country during a sortie or a combat mission, and then they present the flag to you like, this is something cool or good or honorable that they flew an American flag in your family's name, protecting freedom. That's the concept.
While you bomb.
That's the concept, though, that they're selling. But when you think about things the way they really are, instead of the propaganda attached to it, you realize that when you look around in our world, even in our great country that's pretty free, what I see everywhere is a bunch of scientific experiments, blood sacrifice, a bunch of Crowleyites that think that everything's cool, this and that. That's not how it's working. They were tricking people into being on the dark side of things. And you know that whenever you participate in dark things, you feed it. Whether you know it or not, you're feeding it to it. So if I'm just using this for example, I hope nobody gets mad. But okay, so you got a bunch of different tarot decks. There's a bunch of them. I've seen them. I had one a little while back myself. You got this kind and that kind. You got the Mayan kind, and then there's the energy cards, like in the Fabio ones. They're all different. But there is a set out there that everybody likes the most, and it's the Thoth deck. And that is from Aleister Crowley. So you can say all you want about it, but what you're doing is promoting, buying, and participating in Crowley's ideas whenever you do that.
Unconsciously, I guess.
Maybe not on purpose, but it doesn't change the fact that you're still doing it.
I see.
And if anybody says that Aleister Crowley has nothing to do with Satanism or none of that stuff, for one, you obviously haven't read his stuff. For two, I would like you and invite you to open the first page of the Satanic Bible, in which they say right there that most of their beliefs are based on Aleister Crowley's views and the Church of the OTO, which Aleister Crowley was a main part of. And guess what? Charles Manson also went to the OTO church. Yes, he was a Luciferian. Yes, he was into demonic magic and shit. And these people really believe that and this is the problem that Christians have with like pendulums and rods and stuff like that, because it's not just because their church told them to that it's wrong. But you think about this so let's take the Christians out of it. Whenever you're doing that, you're either claiming that you yourself are psychic, which I believe that human beings are psychic, some of us, or maybe all of us, and we just don't know how to do it. But for the most part, what the idea is that whenever you're using these things, you're pulling information from somebody or somewhere, right?
Right.
It's called divination.
Right.
That means that you're getting information and help from somewhere. No one ever asked where or who it's coming from.
I do. When I do the thing, the tarot or whatever, I make specific intentions of.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that if you do any of this stuff that you're bad. I wanted to make that clear from the beginning. What I'm saying is that there are groups of people out there that have dark interests that hide things and make them nice. Just like for whatever reason, like the idea of a family is bad now. You know, like, oh, well, that's weird. You're just a woman and a man and you got children. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely normal.
That's right, little T. Connect to the divine and higher self. Exactly. Yep. That's what I do.
Yeah, well, the only point I was getting at is that the whole concept was that you're not getting it from yourself. You need these little things and you have to pull information from someone else. But if the Almighty or the whatever wanted you to have it, you would already be getting it. You wouldn't need no little tricks or trinkets or spells or none of that other stuff. That all stuff is all about, and you can read how Aleister Crowley and all of them talk about why they do that. It's to fucking get demons help, to give them power. Demons, not angels, not God, not nobody else. They're talking about demonic, old world, esoteric, bad guys or dark entities, but whatever. I think, you know, we should trust ourselves a little more as far as like our psychic abilities and stuff like that. Because I think your conscious, your center or whatever will lead you the right way if you want, especially once you realize all that stuff.
Yeah. All right. Great to close it with a reading.
Well.
Not a reading. I'm just going to pull a card.
Well, one card. What do I get? What do I get?
Let's see.
Oh, I bet a bunch of people got mad at me because I know a lot of people like Crowley. They think he's cool, but just read his own works and you'll figure out what kind of guy he is.
Yeah. We are the only species that destroy Earth and each other. Too. I would want to add that.
I always wonder if we're not, you know, that whole thing about the Anunnakis and stuff. Sometimes I wonder if we're not the Anunnaki. Because you know how we found out that there were other humans, not us, like there were different kinds of humans, but they weren't Homo sapien and they all disappeared but us. It almost makes me think that we're the Anunnaki. We came here, we killed everything, and then somehow we lost our technology or whatever, and we don't know what's going on anymore, but we're the aliens.
So this...
Oh, wow. I was just looking at that just a minute ago.
It's the cactus, but... and it's the strength card.
Oh yeah, I could see that being a representation of strength. It sits out in the desert, barely any water, it lives forever.
Let's see what this thing says about the cactus. Yeah, I had to go and look at see which all the major arcanas for regular tarot, and I had to like go and match it. That's why I wrote it down, like all the different names, because you know. Like that was pretty obvious, but there were some that I didn't know. So, okay, it says strength, continuity, genesis, honor, courage, and if it's reverse is self-limited. So yeah, that's what that the cactus, the strength.
That's weird. And it has flowers on it?
Yeah. And a bird. A little, yeah. And a bird.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you can see it clearly now.
Yeah. That's weird because all my cactus are blooming in my yard right now. That's what. And I just looked at it was like a flint, I think it was, but it was Mayan, and they chipped away, and it looked just like a little cactus, but it had the face of a Mayan in it, but it looked just like that. Like they copied that to make that.
Bye, Tyler. He said, great talk. I have to rewatch later. Take care, Raven. Hope it's all well. Yeah, you too, Tyler. And I just want to say something because earlier when you were talking, there were people saying about ravens that they've been witnessing or seeing ravens and that they've been thinking about me. That's awesome. Cool. I see ravens and crows all the time. All the time.
They love it here.
So that's awesome.
Well,
all right, you guys.
I think it's pretty cool. We made them laugh. We disgusted them with Uranus jokes. And then we talked about the good things and the bad things. I think that was a pretty well-rounded show, actually.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that we need to have more of this kind of talks because you know, I learn a lot.
Next time on the Raven Wolf channel, foot fungus. Does it affect you? No, I'm just joking.
That's funny. All right, you guys. Well, oh yeah, I almost forgot. Okay, so tomorrow I'm gonna have a show with Alex Folks. We're gonna be talking about the weed and spirituality. Where does they connect and all of that biz. So yeah, I think we said, shoot, I forgot the time, at 6:30 Central Time. I might be wrong. I forgot. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's gonna be in around that time tomorrow, Central Time. So stay tuned. Oh, and okay, and Tyler Booth says, oh, and Ransom, my father was a crew chief of the B1B. I confirm you're thinking on combat sorties. Sorties?
Mm-hmm.
Combat? Yes, tomorrow, Little T. Tomorrow around 6:30 p.m. Central Time.
And who'd you get? I'm sorry, I forgot already. What? Who is it?
Tyler Booth? Or wait,
no,
what?
Yes, your guest you're having.
Oh, my guest is Alex Folks.
Alex.
He was here earlier. Yes, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. I'm gonna have to ask him. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy and got some knowledge, and don't take it. Anyway.
Yeah, don't get butthurt. I'm just talking about stuff.
Yes, we're just having a conversation, and you know, I think it needs to happen. But anyways, I love you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And good night. Bye. Oh, and thank you, Ransom, for doing the show.
Yes, and that concludes this Friday edition of Late Night 420 TV.
Yeah.
On my channel,
Bye.
not this one.
Bye, you guys.